It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you all for coming here as well. So as you can see, the title of the presentation here is right behind me. And the first thing I did was I ran the title. Sorry, I know it looks kind of funny what I'm doing here, but I'm trying to make sure this mic thing doesn't fall out. I'll just put it in my front pocket like this. How's that? So I ran the title of my presentation to a bunch of friends and got some feedback from them. And I got pretty much two very consistent messages. First one was, wow, that's a cool idea, because I took volunteerism as an act of kindness, just kind of taking my spare time, my money, and helping those in need, which is true. The other thing is, they're like, whoa, man, this is your topic? That's so you, that's so cool, because you do so much for the community that you're the only one who I could know that would speak about this kind of stuff. And I wish I could do what you do. And some people would say, you know, Tuan, now that you're saying this, I kind of want to organize something for my father or my pet or for the environment. People really want to do something for the community, but they kind of don't know where to go, right? And so, we'll give you a bit of perspective on where things are for me. I'm basically, as mentioned, an accidental philanthropist because of my volunteerism. And my volunteerism is basically my entire life. I've dedicated my entire life to helping others and raising money. And I've raised several millions of dollars for several charities. And I've built a network of friends across the entire globe. And what's very special that I find about my network is that it was mainly built, I would say 90% through volunteerism. So there's a special kind of love that exists in my network because I've been down and out, and people have helped me up and kind of put me back on my feet. And so how do I start volunteering? And I'm one of the very typical story where I'm an immigrant family. I was born in Vietnam in 1975. After 20 days, I was a little nugget, and I moved to Canada. I was very ill. My father fell very ill too when he first came to Canada, so mom was left working at minimum wage supporting family. Of course, that's not possible. So we grew up on social aid, and we grew up in the projects. And it may sound kind of like, oh, but you know what? Mom and dad never let us feel that. Mom and dad were very grateful for every single minute of their lives. And let's start with dad. Dad always uses the same story to explain what the community means to him. And he always says, you know, I remember one time I held your sister and you in my arms waiting at the bus stop, and it was freezing because we're from Vietnam. And someone saw us, and the lady picked us up, drove us home, and went on her merry way. We never saw her ever again. But Dad always said, that is the community of where we live. They help us. I want you to be part of this community and do what those have done for us. And so that's where my desire to be part of the community came from. But there's another element that pushes my volunteerism beyond what I do. And it's my mother. My mother obviously worked very hard, and she had a lot to complain about if she wanted to. But this woman, if you met her, she's a firecracker. She has a lot of energy. She's an Energizer Bunny. She's amazing. And when you get to know her, you really know why. She lives life with absolute gratitude. She is grateful every day for the littlest things, and she reminds us to always be grateful. So take my dad, saying get involved, take my mom, live life with gratitude, and I became who I am today. And I remember when I was 14 years old, one of my friends said her father was suffering from cancer. And I grew up in Montreal first, and we took a bunch of friends to Métro Berry de Montigny, that's what it was called back in those days, and we played music in the subway, and we raised $100. It was awesome. We donated the money to the family, and it became like this awesome trend. We started birthdays became our fundraisers, special occasions. We started doing volleyball tournaments, track and field parties, fashion shows. We did so many cool things for charity. And when I was applying to university, which I came here, Ottawa U, business school, Telford School of Business, and I had to think about my last 5 years just before starting university. And I realized that I was doing something that I still tell people today, which is everything I did that I enjoyed, or anything I did that meant people coming together, like today, I was able to throw a charitable component to it. And I took that with me and entered business school. And I observed a few things while in business school that's relevant to our talk today. First, I met a bunch of business students that were really cool, super talented. They could sing, they could dance, they could play the piano. Back in 94, 95, which was when I was in school, the internet was at the beginning, so the guys were playing with the internet. And business school didn't mention these things. They didn't really talk about the passion that made us human. And that's what really fascinated me. At the same time, these very same business students were always talking about the career ambitions. CFA, CMA, CEO, all these crazy dreams as business people. And not one of them really, well, not one, but very few talked about what they would do for the community. And I thought, if you are really growing yourself, you're really giving yourself an opportunity to give back to the community. And So I took that. And then my last observation was business students, we go to these events, wine and cheeses, we go to networking events. And the purpose of these events for us students is to get inspired, to stay on course of what your dream is, to be that CEO or whatever you want to do, right? And they're great events. They're awesome. But it was missing still that human element, which I didn't know what to really think about. And so then I said, you know what, I'm going to take some chances here. And my buddies, Alexandre Saint-Jean and myself, we started something called CASCO. And it stands for the Commerce and Administration Student Charity Organization. And the purpose of this was my vision was that I wanted the future of our business community to be responsible. And we do this by creating vehicles where students can leverage business skills, the magic of who they are, and some mentorship for them to create a change in our community. And one of our flagship events, and there's a chapter in McGill and chapter in Ottawa U, is a dance-inspired, Broadway-style fashion show. And it's in a business dinner setting. It's a real business dinner setting. There's 150 students and 300 or 400 professionals. It is a business event. And in the last 14 years, it's raised over $1 million. So it's amazing. And what does this mean for students who got involved? Myself and many of us who are CASCO alumni, we were welcomed by people in the community with strong networks, with a lot of power, a lot of influence. And they lent us their network, and they mentored us to become and reach our potential. And in doing that, I would have never expected to meet business people to help me start my businesses. I would never have thought that before 30, I am advising individuals, corporations, on how to motivate, mobilize, and develop leaders in our community. Would have never thought that, like not to this extent at least, right? And because of that, I've come across a lot of really cool stories. And I'll share with you one story about this guy, Sean. I met him through a mutual friend, and he lost his wife in the battle of cancer. And he wanted to do something special for his wife. And he was like, oh, my wife likes this, my wife likes this. And he couldn't come up with a formula that's grand, that's going to honor his wife. And I said to him, I told him about my story with 4 guys in the subway station at 14 years old. And I said, what do you like to do, man? First of all, I found out he was unemployed. And I found out he loved to mountain bike every weekend. So I'm like, dude, man, just mountain bike this weekend, choose an easier course, call a bunch of friends, tell them it's a new mapping course in honor of your wife, and have them bring like 20 bucks and just take that and donate. Start really small and see how that feels. And so he started that, and the first weekend was amazing. He had 15 people, and they raised $400. He was like, whoa, this is awesome. He wasn't expecting that. So then I advised him to keep it till the end of the summer and do this every week. Let's see how much money we raise at the end of the summer. And without really realizing it, the word spread and became this crazy event that nobody knew about that had about 150 people every weekend biking up, children, seniors. It was awesome. And at the end of September, he ended up raising close to $38,000. And unbeknownst to him, inside this group, through a friend, through a friend, of a friend, of a friend, of a friend, was a VP of a technology company. He befriended him, and he found out the effort that it took to run this unplanned event. And he learned so many beautiful things about my friend, how he thought about every single person. He mapped the perfect course to make sure everyone can handle it, but have a bit of a challenge. He made sure there were elements that motivated people, and on, all these things that he thought about. And so what did this guy do? He doubled and matched that donation, and he offered Sean a job. And Sean moved to California. And it's been about 10 years now, and he's gone through a couple different companies. But I spoke to Sean a couple of years ago, and he still incorporates volunteerism in his life. And he's the reason why I named this presentation, this talk. Because he said, Tuan, I still volunteer, and it's thanks to that moment where you helped me. And I've realized that every time I do a volunteer project, large or small, I became stronger the next day. I came home more sharp. I went back to work and I was energized. I learned something new. I realized that volunteerism makes me a stronger professional. And so that's how I came with this title. And what came to realization now that I asked all of you, what's next? Well, the obvious message is there. We can all make a difference, even with the tiniest event. We all know that, right? We've all heard this before. But where I find volunteers deny themselves, not on purpose, because maybe they don't want to seem selfish, is how can they benefit from this? And I've always said, if you want to give in the future, you have to exist in the future. And what better way than to grow yourself while helping others? And so I encourage all of you to move forward and think of something really small. If you have a big idea, go for it. But while you're creating this idea, set some goals for yourself. And there's many things that I've learned from different volunteers that that they've become or that they've learned. And here's a bunch of them. So gratitude, passion, creativity. They build their creativity. They become more efficient because when you run a charity, you have to maximize your resources to get the most funds for charity. Your confidence goes up, you become courageous, you develop leadership skills, you become a ball of positive energy. And when that happens, good things happen everywhere, all around. So I encourage all of you to do that. And for the corporations out there, thank you to the corporations who encourage volunteerism. But how about this? Why don't we make volunteerism a part of professional development? Think about that, because I think if we all do that, this world will be filled with wonderful, loving, kind, successful people. Thank you very much. See you later.